Following up a rookie season, Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to have plenty of receipts come 2025. We look at the most recent slanderous rankings from Pro Football Focus, Johnny Venerable.
Plus, Ari from the 33rd team comes on our show and debriefs his conversation with Monti Ossenfort. Plus, a special segment coming up. Surprise guest, it's PHNX Cardinals now. Hey, welcome in. From Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast, your premier #1 Arizona Cardinal podcast. Look and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star wherever you get your programming. I'm Johnny Venerable. He's Wulbrecht in Studio K. No man behind the mic today. Loaded, absolutely loaded Wednesday show here on Spirit Week, All City, PHNX Sports. So many fun surprises, Wulbrecht.
Absolutely. Spirit. I've got spirit. How about you? We're having a great time today. Yeah. Monday was your favorite t-shirt day. Tuesday was your mystery guest. We were graced by the great Frank Sanders yesterday. You can check that out. Yesterday's show. It's here on the YouTube streets. Plus today, musical chairs day. What other PHNX personalities? And I think if you follow us on Twitter, you might have seen one that is going to be joining this humble show, this blue collar lunch pail show that we like to call it, Lunch Pail Podcast. And then, of course, we've got Big Brothers, Big Sisters Day. But look, Johnny, it's not just Thursday that's Big Brothers, Big Sisters Day. It's every day here during Spirit Week. As a part of All City Spirit Week, we're teaming up with Big Brothers, Big Sisters. And you can donate. We've set a goal as a company to hit 10K. We're on our way, but we need your help, and we want PHNX Cardinals to represent the best as far as the PHNX community goes. So help us out by checking out bbbs.org/allcity donate. Also, you could donate while watching live. You got the option here, either watching on your smartphone or on your computer.
Anytime I call myself for the show blue collar, my wife wants to beat my ass, so I'm not allowed to say that, but both can say that as we kick off the show. So fired up today.
It's so stupid.
Because she's just like, you're soft. You've never been blue collar. You'll never be blue collar. But please, in all seriousness,
these hands are soft and moisturized. They've never seen a hard day's work in my life. But yeah, yes, we are the Blue Collar Podcast.
It's not good for your boy. Donate below. Again, as Bo mentioned, we're having fun here on Spirit Week. So much fun we've got planned, even for the rest of today. Ari from the 33rd team is going to drop in. We're going to talk all things Monti Ossenfort. He sat with Ossenfort for over 30 minutes and talked the fallout from the Will Johnson trade down. He talked about Marvin Harrison Jr., and that's where I want to start today's show is MHJ. So you know how we despise ranking season. It's a necessary evil. We're in the dead period of the offseason. Training camp, Bo, as you reported today on Twitter, starts July 22nd. So we have about a month remaining, which means we dive into the rankings for the respected sites. And we have friends at Pro Football Focus, Trevor Sickma among them, that come on this show. And we're excited about PFF and the work they do. How we do a segment during the year where it's PFF rankings post-game, right? On a football Monday.
Yeah.
I have a bone to pick with Pro Football Focus with regard to Marvin Harrison Jr., right? I think the rankings for PFF, for the most part, with the Cardinal skill players or the overall position units, are solid. Some are good, some are average. The Marv ranking is one of the most disrespectful things I have seen this offseason, and Marv is taking it in the teeth. God, you would think 900 yards and 10 touchdowns or whatever he had is like a curse, because he's basically Treylon Burks right now. A guy who's a bust, who can't move, 200, 300 yards from scrimmage. You would think Marvin Harrison Jr. literally can't play. based on the rankings that I've seen this offseason.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I may want to come maybe to the defense of Pro Football Focus, I think that this ranking is indefensible. Like you said, James Conner, he's in the ballpark of where he should be. Budda Baker, he's in the ballpark of where he should be ranked. Both top 10 players, and it's not we're not just going to go to war for every Cardinals player. We understand that they're not all stars, they're not all top 10 players at their respective position. We understand, the polarization of the quarterback, Kyler Murray, and that he needs to play better in order to move his way up. I mean, I would argue that he's higher than 15, but if we could, let's take a look at maybe at least the offensive Arizona Cardinals and where their top players rank. Kyler 15th, the quarterbacks, James Conner 8th, Trey McBride 3rd, even though I think he's better than Brock Bowers right now.
Yes.
Brock Bowers had a few more touchdowns than Trey. Trey played fewer games than Brock Bowers. Paris Johnson Jr., 14th best tackle. They didn't even have a guard register, Johnny. 32 guards were ranked. Cardinals did not have one. And then Yelda Froholt checking in as a top 10 center, like that for the Cardinals. And then the egregious wide receiver ranking for Marvin Harrison Jr., 26th overall wide receiver according to Pro Football Focus.
This is like the ranking entering 2025. It's almost like, Bo, like buying a stock, right? Yeah. You're projecting, which okay, I'll play that game. Okay, would you rather have, and I'm going to list some of these players that are listed in front of him. Would you rather have Marvin Harrison Jr. in year 2 or Chris Olave off 400 yards with maybe the worst quarterback situation in the NFL? I'm going Marvin Harrison Jr. Would you rather have Jalen Waddle off 744 yards in an offense that's a little bit in flux? Waddle missed time last year. Give me MHJ. What about Brandon Ayuk? Brandon Ayuk, who blew up his knee last year, will not be ready for the start of this season. Yeah. They have Brandon Ayuk 19th overall. What about Chris Godwin? Broke his leg at the end of last year, 18th overall. I mean, Devontae Adams, 16th. He looked like he was running in molasses at the end of last year. I won't argue with a lot of the top 10 guys. We know who they are. Amon-Ra, Puka, CeeDee Lamb. And we have aspirations for Marv to join that group as early as this year. But to have him behind guys who are actively washed, injured, or off down years, just because that he was a rookie and didn't have a Jamar Chase kind of rookie season, it's egregious, it's irresponsible, and PFF usually does a good job steering away from this. I would argue it's click rage bait, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's got to have some of those those elements all in there. Yeah, I mean, Jacob saying Ayuk is horrible. He had a pretty efficient season, obviously in his contract year, and then has a long way back. It's like they're willing to give Olave, Ayuk, Waddle, all these guys the benefit of the doubt, and then they look at a guy in his first season that checks in under 900 yards and has scored 8 touchdowns last year, and they're like, it's just like the HR meme that we showed with James Conner. It's just like, these guys are all well and good. That's cute. That's charming. But with Marvin Harrison Jr., get me human resources on the phone right now. I feel uncomfortable. Yeah. It's ridiculous. Like Marvin Harrison Jr. is a guy that's trending in the right direction. You look at his game log from last season. You look at his usage, and I think he's a victim of his usage, where these other guys get the benefit of the doubt coming off serious injury, not having a quarterback that can get them the football. When we talk about Olave, who might even be on his way out of New Orleans, I just think they see the forest through the trees with some of these guys, but refuse to do it with Marvin Harrison Jr. And that's, I think a bias against the Arizona Cardinals. Maybe it's a product of them not playing, big time games or in a national spotlight. But that's ridiculous to say that there's 25 wide receivers better than Marvin Harrison Jr. or that you're projecting 25 better wide receivers, because it's not going to end up that way by the end of the 2025 season.
Like you can have, and they do, Ladd McConkey, Brian Thomas Jr., Malik Neighbors ahead of him. And again, you're basing that off of, in my opinion, 2 or 3 games of production. Those guys contributed about 200 to 300 yards more than Marv last year. Less touchdowns in a lot of instances. So it's like, well, they must be significantly better. They must be 10 to 12 spots better. I don't know. Like, would you rather have Marv in year 2 or DK Metcalf with rag arm Aaron Rodgers with the Pittsburgh Steelers? I know who I'm taking.
Right.
Would you rather have, Marvin Harrison Jr. or DJ Moore, who, by the way, had a down year last year? Maybe he's not a good fit with Caleb Williams. Would you rather have Marvin Harrison Jr. or the number 2 wideout in Philadelphia, a run-heavy offense, in Devontae Smith? Like, I think Marvin Harrison Jr., I think this is going to be a one-and-done, meaning a one-and-done offseason where this is never a topic of discussion again. Because I think, number one, I think jobs are on the line to get him production this year, to let him be a focal point of this offense, right? Let's see that graphic one more time if we could, Noah, man. Like, look at the names on this list for the Arizona Cardinals. Kyler Murray, first round. Trey McBride, unequivocally a top 2 to 3 tight end in the NFL. Paris Johnson, a top 10 pick, should be a top 10 tackle. Yelda Froholt, top 10 center. All the sum of these parts, Brock. And then you took a guy 4th overall that's put in the time and the effort last offseason and especially this offseason. He is going to easily eclipse, in my opinion, 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns. And I don't know what kind of smoke and mirrors PFF has to do then to get him into the top 20. Like, I think another wide receiver that's got a bone to pick, Jackson Smith-Njigba, is behind Marv. Like, Jackson Smith-Njigba was one of the best receivers in the NFL last year. He had a better year than Marv. He helped his team get to 10 wins. He was their most productive offensive player. So it's not exclusive to Marvin Harrison Jr., but it is disappointing.
That's just nasty work. I didn't even notice that. That's atrocious. Like, if you watch the Seahawks offense, it was JSN. Obviously they felt confident enough that they could just move off of the 2 top tenured wide receivers in that offense for so long, and Lockett and DK Metcalf. See, like a guy like Zay Flowers, who sneaks over 1,000 yards in one of the top offenses in the NFL for the Ravens, 1,059 yards and 4 touchdowns. I think if you were to task any of the general managers, the coaches of some of these wide receivers that are ahead of Marvin Harrison Jr., hey, instead of Zay Flowers or Olave or DK Metcalf, Ladd McConkey, Jalen Waddle, DJ Moore, we give you Marvin Harrison Jr., and they say, where do I sign?
Right.
What's the deal here? Because I absolutely take a guy 6'4", probably going to check in around 220 now as he put on that bulk on his frame that we talked with Frank Sanders about yesterday. Like, this is a guy that's poised to break out and really establish himself. But when you do also look at those rankings as well, like, who was the biggest victim of this offense last year? I think it was MHJ. And there's nowhere to run if you're the play caller, if you're the players in this offense that this organization has decided to double down on and run it back, where you've got basically top 10 guys or fringe top 10 guys, and Marvin Harrison Jr. egregiously underranked at 26. Like, he has to go up, and if he does, I think that bodes well for the entire offense. It bodes, like, Kyler Murray is going to go up from 15. If Trey is who he is and Marvin Harrison Jr. becomes a top 15 receiver, this offense is going to benefit greatly from it, and Kyler Murray is going to be a fringe to top 10 quarterback.
Just too many good players either entering or about to enter or in their prime right now. And I would still argue James Conner's in his prime, but certainly Trey McBride entering his prime is the highest or one of the highest paid tight ends in the NFL. Kyler Murray should have we hope, health permitting, have a career year. Michael Wilson, Marv entering year 2 and 3 respectfully. Like, this is the group that they've decided to roll with, that they've invested in the last couple of years, that the previous regime took high in the draft. If it's not going to happen now, then things are going to change. But I'm going to tell you what's not going to change is the 4th overall pick. Like, right. If it doesn't happen with this offensive play caller or this quarterback, although I think Kyler Murray has shown he can produce with big-time receivers. Look at DeAndre Hopkins. There are going to be changes, and the changes are not going to start with Marvin Harrison Jr. You could just sense the frustration with the 4th overall pick, the young man out of Columbus, when you talked to him last year at his locker, Bo, and he wanted to say a million things. but he's got too much respect for the game and too much respect for his teammates and his coaches. But the Cardinals had stripped the joy from Marvin Harrison Jr. with this offense. That has to change. Speaking of change, surprises around the corner. It's PHNX Cardinals. So fired up right now. I can't wait to buckle up and check this out with our friends at Circle K. I'm going to get me a nice medium iced coffee for $1. How about 2 for $13? Pepsi or Mountain 15 packs and a Gatorade 12 pack. Everything's expensive now. Every major retailer, every mom and pop store. I go to Circle K and it's like a throwback, right? The $3 meal deal. I'm sorry, $3 for a hot dog or tornado. You get your selection of Frito-Lay chips and a Polar Pop up to 44 ounces. $3? What is $3 anymore? How about a $4 breakfast Sammy hash brown and 16-ounce Bang C4 Ghost or medium coffee? Get your day going. That'll set you straight. Join the inner circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. You get all these deals. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com, Bo, for more details.
You ever get into a debate with your buddies? Like, I got a better fantasy squad. I'm a better gamer. I'm faster than you. Push-ups, hit the ground right now. Let's see who can bang out the most. Let's bet on it. Now, thanks to VMe, you finally can, and you don't have to go chasing down after you win those big bucks. It's the first of its kind person-to-person betting app where you can bet anyone, anything, anytime. That's right. For the money in the bragging lights, you can find it. Sports, video games, fantasy matchups, poker nights, backyard cornhole, anything you can think of. Who can chug a beer faster? I can, Johnny. It's horrible. It's a horror show when he's chugging a beer. It's no contest. We'll have to give him good odds on that. But VMe is the app that you can do it with. You can go one-on-one, rally the whole crew in a group challenge. I might even challenge Johnny to bet the Cardinals, as far as the win total this next year. I think we're both on the over on this one. But you can shake it and you put it to the test with VMe. Download the VMe app today. Use the code PHNX to get started. It's at the App Store, Google Play as well. VMe, anyone, anything, anytime.
Let's kick it over. Musical chairs. Here it is. It continues. And what is today? Well, today is Wednesday. We want to introduce you to Leah and Emma kicking things off. It's the Girly Pops on PHNX Cardinals.
Live from Studio A. We're here in the GOAT studio. Oh, Big Johnny.
No, Big Johnny.
Hello, everybody. I'm Leah. I'm our head of content, formerly host of PHNX Coyotes, currently host of PHNX Hockey.
And I'm Emma, our social media manager. This is my first ever show on the program. Just
No
kind
pressure.
of excited.
No pressure. Thanks for having us on, guys. Wow, the one shot on Emma just put all the pressure on. Well, actually, we're just gonna take control of the show here. Bo and Johnny, they're just sitting back. Emma and I came prepared. And many of you may or may not know that I am a huge hockey fan, as maybe implied by my previous roles here. Emma, however, huge baseball fan. Emma, tell them what you did before this.
I worked in minor league baseball for the past, 3 years. So,
Yep.
kind of fun. Kind of exciting.
Yeah, we're not really football girls. We are hockey and baseball girls. But we wanted to talk today about NFL quarterbacks as it relates to hockey and baseball. And we want to specifically talk on this program, PHNX Cardinals, about Kyler Murray. Listen, there's a lot of Kyler haters out there. Maybe they have the right to hate. Has he proven himself? I don't know. But here's what I'm going to say from the hockey side of things. In the NHL, what do you need? A great goalie. They're kind of few and far between. Hard to come by. And everyone thinks they have a great goalie, or they think we don't need great goaltending if we have a great team in front of us. Well, you do need a great goaltender. And that's what we saw. We literally saw last night the Florida Panthers won the Stanley Cup. What did they have? A great goalie, a bona fide number one. And you know who didn't have that? The Edmonton Oilers, who almost got completely shut out last night, by the way. Lost for the second year in a row because they didn't have that. And I think, to me, you look across the NHL, everyone wants a starting goalie. Only the teams that have them have been winning Stanley Cups as of late. So I think Cardinals fans should be grateful that they do have a number one quarterback, a clear number one quarterback. Emma? Baseball?
I mean, I could be totally wrong. So let me know if I'm totally wrong on this. But I think a QB is kind of comparable to like a pitching staff, which the Diamondbacks don't necessarily have right now. They're comparable in the way that it's like, they both do throw the ball, which I promise I know more about football than that. But Derek's in the back listening to this. So Derek, if I'm wrong, please tell me. But I think if your QB could be having the game of his life, like you need to be backed up, in the sense that you need everyone around you. Like Kyler needs Marv to kind of work in there. Everything needs to kind of work out. But if your position players aren't playing as well, if your Marvin Harrison isn't playing as well, then maybe you just don't really have the opportunity to, get in there. So everyone kind of has to work together as a team, rely on each other. I don't know. Derek just walked away, so I think I'm wrong.
Yes. So all of this to say, everyone should be grateful that the Cardinals have a clear number one guy, whether it's comparable to a pitcher, an NHL goalie. And the other thing I'll add is, especially with these guys, your starting pitchers, everyone kind of, even if you're just a general sports fan, knows who that is. Same with, I would say, the captain of an NHL team. And to me, it goes just even above the play on the field of the ice. It's like your involvement in the community. And for the first time ever, I feel like we saw Kyler Murray do that with his charity softball tournament, which this show was very much involved in. And I feel like we're starting to see that. So I'm hoping that all of these things are now coming together. The stars are aligning. He's been through adversity. Listen, you got to go through adversity in your career, no matter what sport. He's been through the adversity. He's opening up to the community. And I think this could be the year that Kyler Murray takes off.
He did a Tiny Mike video with me for social. It was pretty good. It was a lot of fun. We learned a lot about his love for Trey McBride, which, I mean,
yeah,
everyone knows that already. Going. But they've got a good friendship going there.
So there you have it, guys. That's our that's what we brought to the program.
I feel like that is the determining factor right there. You do a Tiny Mike video with our social media maven, Emma, and you're set up for success.
Thank you, Bo.
This is special. So we kind of were given like options or what we wanted to do for musical chairs, and Bo and I made it very clear that we wanted Emma and Leah on the show. And so we appreciate both of you. Let's do prediction time. We're not going to let you out of here without a prediction here. We'll go start with you, Emma. Win-loss for the Arizona Cardinals this year. They haven't had a winning record since 2021. Leah was our producer, by the way, that you're on the show. So what do you guys think? We'll start with you. Prediction for the Arizona Cardinals 2025.
Am I crazy to say like they're going to win 12 games at least? Is that a crazy take?
No, it's the correct take.
Okay. Perfect. That's all I needed. That's all I'm going to say.
So 12-5 is that?
Yeah, I can't do math, so I'm guessing it's 12.
I've done enough math today, thanks to Max Simpson. Well, first of all, yes, I was the producer on the show. The last time this team had a winning season, by the way, went to the playoffs in 2021 season. So before I give my prediction, by the way, I'm putting everyone on the spot. We are accepting donations for Big Brothers Big Sisters this week. Our sponsor, or excuse me, our partner across ALLCITY. We want to raise money for a great cause. And Bo and Johnny, we were talking before the show. They promised to buy me and Emma dinner if this show raised $1,000.
Literally just 20 minutes ago.
They just said it.
Breaking news.
They might not remember,
Bo and Johnny told
us.
us.
I remember. So let's have this show, the PHNX Cardinals audience. I want you to raise $1,000 for Big Brothers Big
I believe
Sisters
in y'all.
today.
I really do.
Johnny and Bo said they'd buy us dinner if you guys did it. So there you go. But
Waffle House is very nice. You'll love it.
You know what?
Max
Long John's Silver, Applebee's. Maybe if you play your cards right, we can make a trip over to my favorite establishment, Chili's. You guys.
No,
Max is gonna kill me.
Man.
All right. Anyway.
All right, Leah, you're saying that Kyler Murray's gonna stand on his head this entire season. How many wins does that get the Cardinals?
Okay, so Patrick Brown in the newsletter today, everyone should subscribe. It's absolutely free. Go phnx.com/newsletter. He predicted a 10-7 season for the Cards this year. I'll meet somewhere in the middle of Patrick and Emma, and I'll go 11 wins.
All right.
I love it so much. Well, thank you so much for jumping in. Musical chairs. Again, follow them on social. Emma, head of social media. Leah, head of content here at PHNX Sports. We couldn't get anything done. They have leveled up our game here in
Thank you, Johnny.
2025.
Wait,
And,
hold on.
what do you got?
I'm interrupting your outro of us because we forgot something.
We're taking
go
over
ahead.
the show.
Because
We're taking
I
over.
haven't hosted a show in ages, and this is Emma's first show. We did want to pull up a photo of Kyler Murray. We should have done this on our Kyler. So the Arizona Cardinals tweeted and socialed this photo out this week, and Emma and I have some, hard-hitting analysis of this photo. Emma, why don't you start?
Literally, the first thing I said was Kyler's kind of serving in this picture.
He is serving the guy in the chair.
Slaying.
I'm so sorry. I don't know who that is. Paris Johnson. Yeah, he's slaying.
I'm a new fan of Paris Johnson. I'll tell him.
Yeah, the vibes are good. The vibes are good. So Emma and I were predicting a great season from Kyler.
Based off of this picture alone,
Yeah.
I don't need to see anything
great
else.
season
Winning
from the
season.
Cards. There you go. That wraps it up for
You
us.
can get
How
rid of
about
us
that?
now.
Yeah.
Do Johnny and I have to recreate this photo? I think it would. We could set
That'll
this
be
up
it
pretty
tomorrow.
well.
Or next time Johnny comes
Paris
in.
Johnson.
Yeah.
Hey, Emma, are these guys serving right here? Let's pull these guys.
Yeah. That's the best picture I've ever
Oh
seen,
my God,
actually.
never forget.
Unbelievable segment. The audience has grown, and rightfully so, because you
I'm
ladies
glad.
brought it. It's the PHNX Cardinals crossover event that everybody's been clamoring for, that they didn't know they needed it. Emma, of course, our social media manager, and then, of course, our head of VP of content, Leah Mehrov. Unbelievable stuff.
Why am I just getting shade thrown at me that entire segment in the chat? It's very, very frustrating. Thank you so much, Leah and Emma. We continue our coverage here during Spirit Week. Again, musical chairs today, a big success. And of course, we've got Big Brothers, Big Sisters Day tomorrow. And it's every day, frankly, this week. And then Die Hard Day. It's been Spirit Week, a huge success here at PHNX Sports. We appreciate everybody tapping in. And who knows, you might see Bo and I on a certain post-game show tonight if you play your cards right. More on that and more coming up. It's PHNX Cardinals. Big thanks to Emma and Leah. Big thanks to our friends at All Pro Shades Concepts. Right now, you guys can feel it's triple digits out here in the desert. Extend your outdoor living space with a custom fit awning. Hundreds of designs and colors to choose from. I need to escape the heat, as do you, and you can do so with a motorized, retractable, remote control awning with our friends at All Pro Shades Concepts. String up some LED lightings and get the party started. They can also update, replace, and fix most older outdoor patio shades and motorized awnings in the Valley. Most trusted local shade company, voted #1 rated by Arizona Patio Shades in 2024. That's because they've got the BBB A+ rating with over 1,000 five-star reviews on Google. In business for 20 years here in the Valley. They started making window shades by hand for friends and family in Phoenix. Now they're one of the largest installers of patio roll-down shades and motorized awnings in the Valley. Licensed, bonded, and insured. Give them a call at All Pro Shades, 623-204-1476, or visit them allproshadeconcepts.com to schedule your free estimate today.
Cardinals had more wins at home than they did anywhere else, right? Home field advantage. You're looking for that home floor advantage. You get it with Empire Today. That's where they step up to the plate. And we've been looking at big box stores when you're, tasked with trying to upgrade your flooring, whether it's carpeting, tile, laminate, hardwoods. It's chaos, right? But endless aisles in those big box stores and really no help at all. Somebody that was just working down the street at Jack in the Box is now slinging tile for you. It's not going to be very helpful. Not with Empire Today. Skip the stress. The flooring experts live and breathe floors. You love Cardinals ball. The show gives you all the expert analysis. That's what they're doing with flooring over at Empire Today. They got the showroom right in your house. They'll bring it right to you. First, plus the virtual floor designer. Check it all out. Schedule your free in-home estimate and save $350 while doing so. You get $350 off by just being a viewer or listener of PHNX Cardinals. Use the promo code PHNX. Just go to EmpireToday.com/PHNX. Restrictions apply. It's Empire Today, your home floor advantage.
Big thanks to our friends and all of our sponsors. Big thanks to Ari, who joined us to talk all things his Monti Ossenfort interview. Here's Ari. Johnny Venerable, Wulbrecht, PHNX Cardinals, joined by our guy, Ari Mehrov. He's been covering the NFL for the 33rd team, and of course, he's the host of NFL Spotlight on YouTube. Just had the pleasure of interviewing Monti Ossenfort, Arizona Cardinal general manager, for over a half an hour. Ari, how we doing, my guy?
I'm doing good. It's great to be on with you guys, and I'm a big fan of what you guys are doing there in Arizona. The show, the guests, the discussion, like it's actual football talk, and I love when people just talk down to football. It's pretty awesome.
Oh man, that means a lot to us, Ari. We thought it was a fantastic 35 plus minutes with the Arizona Cardinals architect, and I thought you opened it up very well, telling the man himself, like, people know very little about Monti Ossenfort, but like you weren't just completely oblivious to Monti Ossenfort. You've been following him during his entire kind of NFL career, making his way from, Texans scout to the Patriots organization, back and forth. But what to you made you want to really kind of lock in on the Cardinals general manager for a sit down?
There's a few things here. First of all, like whenever a GM gets hired around the NFL, like guys like us who cover the NFL, maybe we've heard of the guy, maybe we have a relationship with the guy, but average fans are like, who are these people? Like they never heard of GMs. Like we know about head coaches who get hired because they're offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators. We see them every single week. But these scouts or these cap guys, we never hear about them if you're a fan. So getting to know these GMs once they become a GM and where they came from and how it all happened, that was kind of the idea of it. And the show that I do, it's called NFL Spotlight. And every single Tuesday, I have a guest on, whether it's a player, a coach, or an executive who deserves more of a spotlight. So I always wanted to get Monti on because now he's in there for his third year in Arizona. And you guys know the team that he took over when he got there, it was an aging roster. It didn't really have many cornerstones on the team. And as soon as he got there, like seeing him do that big trade on draft night and getting more assets and essentially building this roster up to a point where last year they doubled their win total. And my surprise team going into last year was the Arizona Cardinals. And at one point, you guys were 6-4 and in first place in the NFC West. And I felt like really good about myself. And then, of course, it didn't end the way you guys wanted it to. But I feel like this team is on the rise. And Monti and his staff with David Sears and Rob Kissel. And then, of course, Jonathan Gannon and his young coaching staff, which are all young guys who are brilliant, smart minds who are growing in the NFL as well. I just feel like this team is on the rise and going in the right direction. And I think from a national perspective, I don't think many people are talking about the Cardinals enough, especially what they did this offseason, addressing probably their biggest weakness, which was that defensive front. And at least on paper, from where they were last year to where they are this year, it's just night and day. And I feel like that small difference of adding all those guys could go a long way for this team in 2025.
It's a great interview. I don't want to give too much away, but you were able to ask a lot of questions that frankly have not been posed to the general manager. One of which, Ari, being how he felt about the trade down with Houston and subsequently the fact that pick in the first round was basically tanked by the Houston Texans and CJ Stroud. Like, talk me through like your thought process asking that question and then the reaction from Ossenfort, because like, yes, we all thought that was going to be a top 10 pick. Everybody doing mock drafts entering 2024 is like Cardinals could have the first 2 picks of the draft. And then it fell all the way to 27. And you could kind of see partially, he was like, yeah, I'm a little bit dead inside from that.
I mean, I remember it as well because when that trade happened on the night of the draft where Houston moves up for Will Anderson, and you see the future one. And if you guys recall, the Texans had 2 first-round picks. It was Cleveland's pick and their own. So if they're going to trade a pick, I thought it would be Cleveland's, and it was like Houston's pick. And I was like, the Texans are a dump. Like David Culley was there. Then Lovie Smith was there. Now DeMeco Ryans is coming in. They draft this quarterback. CJ Stroud at the time, there were questions around CJ Stroud if he deserved to be the number 2 overall pick. So I just remember going into that year and nobody had high expectations for Arizona. So we knew that pick will likely be high. And we thought Houston for sure would be a top 10 pick as well. And now this is how you get a quick rebuild really moving faster than expected. And of course, that pick goes all the way down to 27. The Texans make the playoffs. They win a playoff game. And I mean, Monti gave the classic GM answer of like, yeah, you really don't know what the NFL could happen. A team could go from last to first. But inside, he was like good, like watching the Texans that year. Could you guys stop winning? Right. I'm sure he had that feeling. So seeing all that happen, I'm sure he felt it. But he and Nick Caserio are close friends. They worked in New England for a long time. And you could also see that he's happy Nick is having that success right now in Houston, where that team went from being so bad to being one of the powerhouses in the AFC, where even last year, the Texans at one point, they made the divisional round and they were down by 1 in the fourth quarter versus a team that ended up making the Super Bowl. So pretty cool to see their success. But I'm sure he was just like flabbergasted the
Yeah.
Texans were that good right away.
We were the most obnoxious about it. We had like a tracker. We would follow week by week because, I mean, that was a season that the Cardinals, they were in a full rebuild. We knew that they weren't going to contend. So we're also following their draft picks, and we're just getting our heart ripped out each and every week that CJ Stroud would just march his team down the field for a game-winning drive. And then you see him win a playoff game, which furthered the pick deeper into the first round. It was unbelievable. But I think they got, as you mentioned, that rebuilt defensive line also includes, a guy kind of in his first year a little bit, Darius Robinson, who they utilized at a Missouri there. But it sounds like he did a ton of research on the Cardinals GM. And like through your interview, I learned that his ties throughout the NFL are deeper than I even knew about. What was something that you heard about Ossenfort through your research, talking to other people in the know around the league about the Cards GM?
He was in New England for a very long time, and during that time, they won 4 Super Bowls when he was there in the front office. And one of the things that, while doing the research, I kind of forgot just how many football minds were in New England during that time who would end up becoming GMs, like Jason Light, who's doing an incredible job in Tampa Bay, also had a stop in Arizona. He was in New England during that time. You look at all the future GMs who were there. Thomas Dimitroff was there. John Robinson was there. Bob Quinn was there. Scott Pioli was there. At one point, I started naming all these GMs to him, and he's like, "Oh, Ari, you forgot about Adam Peters, who's now the Commanders GM." So, like, the amount of guys who were there during the course of his time, I'm forgetting about Dave Ziegler, who was there. Like, there are so many guys who I'm forgetting about as well, who were, started off in New England, had stops over there, and eventually became GMs. And he kind of was able to be there in New England during the course of his time there and basically see all those guys who started as young scouts or young college directors or young cap guys or whatever it is, and see them move up the ladder. And that probably gave him the confidence that he could do the same thing eventually. So he was there. And of course, the biggest mind of them all was Bill Belichick. At one point in the interview, he does go over a story about a player who he scouted, being Matthew Slater, who would go on to become one of the greatest special teamers in NFL history. And he was kind of given the assignment of scouting Matthew Slater, and Bill Belichick randomly emails him and was like, "Hey, do you think we should draft Matthew Slater strictly as a special teamer?" And Monty was like, "Whoa, Bill Belichick is emailing me." And at the time, they didn't really have a close relationship yet. And he basically told Bill, like, "Yes, I would draft this guy in the NFL draft strictly as a special teamer." And of course, a few months later, they used a 5th-round pick on him, and the rest is history. So he was around some brilliant football minds during his course there in New England. Eventually, and one of the things I kind of have respect for him, and I think a lot of executives around the NFL struggle with this, which is leaving an organization on your own. Like, sometimes you get fired, you got to move on. But he decided to leave New England on his own and go to Tennessee in 2020, which essentially was the end of the dynasty in New England. You kind of realize that. Goes to Tennessee, joins John Robinson, who he was with in New England. And of course, during that time, the Titans were one of the very best teams in the AFC with Mike Vrabel. And that's kind of where all his success as a, personnel guy really started taking off, and teams started realizing who he is, and he started getting all those GM interviews. So just getting the behind the scenes of who this person is, who is Monti Ossenfort, how did he get to this point? I think many fans don't know really the person behind all of this. All we know is the name, and now you get to learn more about him and how all this unfolded for him. And being in the NFL for 25 plus years and being part of one of the great dynasties in any sport, he played a role in all of it, and you get to hear his story there in the interview.
I thought it was very unique because Ossenfort normally very buttoned up, and he was in the interview, but we get to the privilege of covering Jonathan Gannon, who's very animated, wears his heart on his sleeve, and then Ossenfort is very traditional in what he gives and doesn't give the media. And I think back, Ari, to the hiring process for this role in 2023. Ron Carthon declined the interview with the Cardinals, took the Titans GM job, is not employed. So Ossenfort, coming from Tennessee, doesn't, maybe he's in consideration for Tennessee's job, maybe not, doesn't get that job. And then the Cardinals actually, I think, interviewed Ian Cunningham, assistant GM of the Bears. He declines the opening. So by fate or by chance, Ossenfort gets this job in 2023. Part of me thinks maybe he's operating, just playing with a little bit of house money when you consider the fact that Tennessee didn't want him. They've already gone through a general manager. Ian Cunningham was the hot candidate. He could be out if Ryan Poles is out eventually. And here's Monti Ossenfort set up for success better than any of them.
It's very true. And I think part of it also is some of these executives and also coaches, like coordinators, are a bit picky about where they want to end up going because they do think, oh, we're going to have another shot next year. And that's just not the case always. Like Ben Johnson did it and it worked for him. But I could give you a perfect example of somebody where it didn't work. Byron Leftwich he had the Jaguars head coaching job. It was his, and he didn't want to go there with Trent Baalke. He's not even in the NFL anymore. So some of these situations, there's only 32 of them. And I think some people really got to realize that. And for Monty's case, he interviewed with 4 or 5 different places from, Chicago, the Giants, the Panthers, the Browns, the Titans after John Robinson was let go. He interviewed there as well. And then eventually, of course, Arizona. And he mentioned in the interview, like, I felt like I had some of those and it just didn't go my way. So, he wanted to become a GM at some point, and he clearly hit his interview out of the ballpark with Michael Bidwell. And that was a very big hire as well, because as you guys know, that was the first time in decades that they went outside of the Arizona building to find the new GM, right? They always were staying in-house when it came to finding their next guy. And they did have 2 guys in-house at the time, Adrian Wilson being one of them, and they decided, no, we're not going to be in-house. We're going to go outside our comfort zone, and ended up hiring Monti Ossenfort. He comes in. He, of course, works with Michael Bidwell to find Jonathan Gannon. There's a whole story there about how they ended up getting him, but we won't get into that right now. But the entire situation there, they find the right GM, and they find the right head coach, and we all knew it was going to take some time. This was not an overnight thing where you're able to flip the roster, and he realized that as well. That's why there were no crazy free agent signings in year one. That's why he did make that big trade on draft night to get more assets. But we finally got to see a little bit more aggressiveness last year. We saw some success last year. And then this offseason, to me, was really let's try to really push forward and try to make a playoff run here this year. And that's the way it should be done. It kind of reminds me a little bit of what Detroit did with Brad Holmes, where he also took over a really difficult situation. He got extra first-round picks from the Matthew Stafford trade. That first year was a full rebuild. The second year, they started 0-6. They ended up winning 9 games that year. And the third year was let's go for it. And, of course, they make the playoffs. And look at them now. It's a bit reminiscent to that rebuild as well. And I kind of like the direction Arizona's going in.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because that was going to be part of my next question about just kind of what you viewed from just kind of speaking to the man one-on-one, and the answers that he provided kind of gave us a glimpse of how adaptable he is as a general manager and how he's willing to pivot and maybe even learn from mistakes. You talk about year 2 in his offseason. He did spend some money. You look at the money that was spent, Justin Jones, Bilal Nichols, Sean Murphy Bunting. Those are 3 players, Ari, that might not even factor into the roster this year. Like, do you get the sense that he's somebody that's not going to sit there and just try to make a square peg fit in a round hole, and he's willing to just adapt and move forward for the betterment of the team?
I look at their offseason last year. You mentioned those 3 players, and part of me also feels like they weren't really sure, do we want to go aggressive? Do we not want to go aggressive? And they kind of ended up being in the middle. And those 3 signings were just, I guess, not worth it. And I feel like this offseason, you go into it, it's like, no, we're going to get the players we want, and we're okay spending this type of big money because we know these players fit what we want over here. Like, obviously, they tried to get Milton Williams, didn't end up working out, but they pivot to the other ego, which is Josh Sweat, who has that relationship already with Jonathan Gannon. You go out there and add Dalvin Tomlinson, who, I mean, he's been on many different teams, but speak to all those teams and the players in that locker room. They all love Dalvin Tomlinson, the player and the personality that he is. Walter Nolan drafting him, like, I think he was a top 5-7 talent in the draft. It's more of just trying to get that fire out of him, which I know Jonathan Gannon will. And I know the signing that they had also of Calais Campbell is probably the most perfect mentor you could possibly get for a player. So all those signings combined together, it just makes a lot of sense for what they needed, and they know what they're getting here. And they were okay being a little bit more aggressive and knowing what they want going into year 3. Even like the Will Johnson pick, which we didn't really speak about on the show. Like, a lot of teams had concerns with the longevity with all those injuries that he had. But if Will Johnson comes in and is just a 1 contract guy for you guys, but he ends up producing during that 1 contract, taking him in the 2nd round where he's a top 15 talent and it gives you 4 good years, that's worth it to me. Like, I know there's longevity concerns, but if you get 4 good years out of a 2nd round player like him, that's already worth it. And anything more is obviously great. So I just love everything they did this offseason and realizing where they were. And I think they knew a little bit more about where they were this year compared to where they were last offseason.
In 3 drafts, Ari Ossenfort, every pick is still with the organization in some way, shape, or form. Most are on the active roster, and then a couple are on the practice squad. One that's not on the practice squad, Marvin Harrison Jr., that you touched on with him, his body transformation. Talk to us about how you feel, going into year 2 with MHJ. Ossenfort still very confident, as he should be. I think what gets lost in the messaging is, Marvin Harrison Jr. was asked to come in here and be an X-receiver on a run-heavy team with expectations to try to make the playoffs. And the comp we usually make, Ari, on our show is Malik Neighbors got double-digit targets most weekends because, the Giants were terrible. Brian Thomas Jr., spam targets. The Jags were terrible. I think there should be a sense of urgency from Ossenfort's standpoint of, we have to make sure this pick works, in large part because I took him 4th overall.
I definitely agree there. And there were glimpses last year of number 4 overall pick, best receiver in the draft. This guy is built different. And you kind of hear Monti Ossenfort mention in the interview, just rookies coming into the NFL. There's a lot of new things you're kind of not ready for. And he mentioned that. And I wonder if that kind of applied a little bit to Marvin Harrison Jr. Was he trying to give us a little bit of a hint over there? But he mentioned this year just him being in the building quite literally every single day and the body transformation. And like he said, it shows when you see him right now. He's a different player, different receiver, different body, different everything going into this year. And that is something that I think NFL teams should be like, all right, this is going to be number 4 overall pick, Marvin Harrison Jr., the son of the great Marvin Harrison. Like, this is the time right now for him. So he was my number 1 receiver last year. Everything you said about Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas, that is definitely true. They did get a lot of targets on really, really bad teams with a number of different quarterbacks throwing the ball to them because they didn't know what else to do. This is Kyler Murray in a situation where they were trying to make a run last year. So it was a little bit different, but this is somebody who I think you could force feed the ball to. Like, I think he's somebody who could do that. And be that type of X receiver who is really, really special. And he's been putting in the work this year. And there's other pieces on this offense, which essentially means you cannot always double him. Like Trey McBride was also on my show last year, and he is somebody who is really becoming arguably one of the very best tight ends in the NFL who still does not get talked about enough for what it's worth. So he's a really, really special player. You hope that Michael Wilson takes that next step. James Conner is still an outstanding running back. And I also just think the offensive line, which is, in my mind, above average compared to other teams around the NFL, you hope it takes that next step and it gets a little bit better as well. So I just look around this team. There's too much talent over here for it not to work. And Drew Petzing as well. I know sometimes his play calling can be a little bit annoying and just like you wish it could get a little bit better. But he's also a young guy who's also getting better at his craft. And I feel like the longer it goes with him, the better he's going to get. And I think he's going to understand that, hey, we could do more of Marvin than what we did last year.
Yeah, pretty in-depth assessment of the offense, which is running it back. I mean, as much as possible, right? A lot of continuity there, leaning into the chemistry. We'll end with this, Ari, because you do talk about the improvements they made defensively, what your thoughts were about the Cardinals going into 2024. They were kind of your under-the-radar team. They almost made you look brilliant, but we know they let us all down at the end with a 2-5 finish, albeit, as Ossenfort points out, 3 of 4 games they were decided by 1 score. What are your expectations now with the Arizona Cardinals going into 2025? It seems like it's pivotal for all parties involved.
Yeah, I mean, I still have high hopes for this team, and I'm not really in the prediction business that much, to be honest with you. But for me, if they're able to have a above 500 year, that would be a positive for me. The only thing for them that I think will be difficult is just the change going on in the NFC West. Like, the 49ers are going to be healthier. The Seahawks, we'll see what Sam Darnold, is he better than Geno Smith? We'll see, of course, the Rams, who started off just so terribly last year and then turned it around. I feel like they have the momentum going into this year. And frankly, adding a guy like Devontae Adams to replace Cooper Kupp, I think is a very, very big difference there, because Devontae, compared to Cooper, at least to me, I feel like he's a much better player at this stage of their career. So the NFC West is definitely deeper right now, but I just look at where the Cardinals are from a roster standpoint, and I just think about Jonathan Gannon and his defensive mind, and Nick Rallis, the defensive coordinator, who is still just incredibly young at what he's doing. I think he's 32 years old, which is crazy for a defensive coordinator. Adding all of those pieces to that defense, seeing what they could do with all those guys, and kind of staying fresh. those guys came from Philadelphia. The defensive line in Philly, it is just so deep. They were able to always rotate those guys in and out and keep on having fresh bodies. I feel like the Cardinals could have the capability of doing that this year of all the guys they have there on the defensive front. I want to see if they'll end up doing that. If they do, how much of a difference does that make when you're keeping all those big guys up front, fresh throughout a game, week to week, and how much of an impact that makes? I think that is one that I'll be watching for sure with that revamped defensive front.
One of the best in the business. Ari, we appreciate your time. Check out his interview with GM Monti Ossenfort. Subscribe on YouTube, NFL Spotlight with Ari Mehrov. And again, follow him on Twitter, although I'm sure you're following him right now with the 33rd team. Ari, we appreciate your time, my friend.
Anytime, guys. Great to be on.
Great stuff from our guy, Ari, breaking it down here on PHNX Cardinals. What a loaded show we had today here on Spirit Week. The fun continues. Wulbrecht, Johnny, Venerable, your takeaways. I know we didn't have a chance to really debrief the interview, and then Ari, his interview was fantastic, but your takeaways from Ossenfort's time, because I think especially like that Will Anderson stuff is especially interesting.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I think that the conversation that he had with Belichick, where he emailed him about Matthew Slater and outright asked him, is Matthew Slater and his special teams acumen just worthy of being drafted at all? And he's like, yes. And it gives you some insight into Monti Ossenfort's willing to take guys that just serve a role on a team that can help you win football games. Maybe like a blocking tight end in the third round, Johnny.
No.
If he's impressed and he thinks you can do a job at that level, he sees a fit for you on his roster. I think also the thing that I really like about Monti Ossenfort is just how long tenured he is in the league. Sure, he's short tenured as an NFL GM just in his third year, but man, he has held several different positions, working his way up, and he has relationships with all these guys, where I don't think the same could be said for the previous GM. It can't be said for all the GMs. It can't be said for like the head coaches, but between Monti Ossenfort and Jonathan Gannon, they all have deep-rooted relationships throughout this league that they can lean on to help themselves do their job at a high level.
Again, this is going to sound like fanboy slobber fest, but
yeah.
I want my general manager to not want to be a TV analyst, a TV star. Yeah. I want him to be behind the scenes. I want him to be beloved by coaches and players. I think it's awesome that Monti Ossenfort is on the practice field, getting his hands dirty and not some slob behind the desk. And that's not a shot at anybody, but the players respect you and you respect the players. And it's an obvious relationship now. And that doesn't mean like eventually Monty's not going to have a tough negotiation, right? That could go public. Every good GM has to deal with that. But he checks all those preliminary boxes that you need to just be solid at the position. And now it's like, okay, we're going to see him at the next level. We have an opportunity to see him if they have a winning record. If they go to the postseason, you'll see him get a well-deserved contract extension. I think back to Bruce Arians being the last hire of the 2013 hiring cycle, and the Cardinals were the benefactor of the Chicago Bears saying no to Arians, right? Like, I wonder if this is going to be the same thing, because you don't get Jonathan Gannon without Monti Ossenfort. The Cardinals likely they hire Ron Carthon or Ian Cunningham. I mean, is that already dead on arrival? Or are those individuals fired? Who takes the Cardinals' job? So that's important. For as much as we love JG, it's like JG doesn't. No one's courting JG, in my opinion, given where the Cardinals were, except for Monti Ossenfort. And so having him on that short list and then sealing the deal, screw it. If it costs them a third-round pick, so be it. It's going to be the best third-round pick they've ever spent, sending it back to Philadelphia. I just feel like some things, it's cliche, happen for a reason. They lucked into Bruce Arians, and it feels like, Ian Cunningham, there's a better chance he's out of a job after this year than he's another general manager in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, he made his point. Ari did is the Leftwich, Adrian Wilson combo. Yeah. Remember that that was reported out there, and now it's you got Leftwich, who's I think he's just caught on with Colorado. He's coaching in the Big 12,
trying to get back.
He's trying to get back. That's right, and it's one day you're a top candidate, and the next thing you know, you're fighting for any type of gig you can find at this level. It's such a treacherous profession. Like you have to go out there and you have to perform. And like when you look at the Bears, Poles isn't performing, a lot of people aren't going to think Ian Cunningham's performing. And they just pulled off that highway robbery, or so people thought of the Carolina Panthers. And it did. I mean, they got him the top pick along with a lot of draft capital. But yeah, it's I thought it was a great sit down. A lot of stuff that, we knew about Monti Ossenfort. And to your point, he's not going to go there and pull back the curtain and say, this is how it all works. This is the operation. What do you want to know? It's, a little glimpse, but at the same time, just being, a pro and having a conversation and promoting himself a little bit, giving us some insight into who he is.
I think it's been tainted now, unfortunately, given how his tenure fell out. But I think there's something to be said about the Patriot way. And if you can capture the good of the Patriot way, where it's buttoned up, professional, close to the chest, close to the vest, negotiations, right? Like Keim, everything was in the media. Everybody in this market had a Keim source. It was always leaked out ahead of time. And I just feel like with Ossenfort, it's like you might get the best of both worlds. You might get the professionalism, obviously you do, that came from his time in New England, and you might get a way better talent evaluator than the folks in Tennessee and New England, especially during the down times of Bill Belichick's tenure. And that's what you got to hope for is, a lot of people said, was he involved in the A.J. Brown trade, or how could you hire a guy? Titans and the Patriots, they don't have, great drafts. It's like, if you think anybody but Bill Belichick and the general manager at the time in Tennessee were picking the players, you are nuts. Like, sure, these guys have say, but it's like, until you're in that seat, that's why these GM jobs, even more so than coaching, it's almost impossible to get a second one. So,
And it's the same thing as what Belichick expected from his coaches, his players. What's the old, do your job.
Right.
Like they all had a role that played into the success of that organization. And sure, like ultimately it was going to be Belichick, but he was going to lean on his scouts to do their job out in the field. And those guys that made their way up through the Patriots front offices like Dimitrov and then like Nick Caserio and these guys that have made themselves into good general managers in this league. It's really impressive to see, but then also that Monti Ossenfort has his own kind of idea of how he wants to structure his organization and be the architect of his own team. This is what I want to do, Johnny. We've got a couple minutes here before overtime, and we're not a show that we don't just go an hour, but I say we do, for every donation we get, we tack 5 more minutes onto the show.
Okay.
I don't know if you have a place to be. I'm only guessing probably not.
No, my place is this show every day at 4:30.
So if we do receive any, so we've got, I think, 4 donations right now, right? 5?
Yeah, we actually just got a $100 donation.
Oh my God.
From an anonymous user in the chat. So thank you.
Wow.
Big time thank you to whoever was generous enough, gracious enough to give us $100. I see donations of $20. I see Brian. Thank you so much for your donation. But we get more donations. We will keep this show going, of course, for the great cause of Big Brothers, Big Sisters.
We'll never log off. If you know anything about this show, we'll never log off social media, and we'll sure as hell never log off this show. The 24-hour stream, you might force me to do it at this rate. Let's go back into, we talked about it the first segment of the show, the PFF offensive rankings. Let's take a look at the defensive rankings, Bo, if we could, ahead of overtime. PFF positional ranks for the Cardinals. Yeah, there it is. Overtime here. The fun continues. Jump on over if you're joining us from one of our many streaming partners. Calais Campbell, the 16th ranked defensive lineman, pretty wild. Mm-hmm. Josh Sweat, 25th ranked edge rusher. You might think that's low, but frankly, I'll take it. Linebackers, I think it's a crime that Mack Wilson Sr., that's such like a subjective thing too. It's like who plays what in what role, who racks up stats. I think Mack Wilson Sr. definitely deserved to be top 32. Garrett Williams, we talked about the day that was unveiled. That's a joke. That's a crime against humanity. And then you've got Budda Baker as the 8th ranked safety. You got issues with any of this?
I got a little bit of issue with the Sweat. I think 25 when you've seen his performance and what we know to be true about Josh Sweat. He's been doing consistently for a while. Same can't be said for a lot of players in this league. So some guys flash, but 25. But like people get blown away by sack numbers. That's really what this is probably about. And he had some conservative sack numbers. What do you have? Like 8.5 last year, right?
Yeah.
But Garrett Williams being at 22, I'll lose sleep about this one. That's atrocious to think that there's 21 better defensive backs in this league after the season that he had. And also that I think the publication that was monitoring his success the most was Pro Football Focus. He was in the top, just on the fringe of the top 5 consistently throughout the year. And then they put together an end of the year going into next season list, and they drop him at 22. It's egregious.
It is bad. Sweat, by the way, ranked behind a draft pick, Abdul Carter, who is 20th overall. Come on. What are we doing, guys? Abdul Carter hasn't played it down and I like Abdul Carter, but he hasn't played it down in the NFL yet. Andrew Van Ginkel rated ahead of Josh Sweat. Alex Highsmith rated ahead of Josh Sweat for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Van Ginkel was he all pro? Did he make the all pro list?
He is. He didn't have robust sack numbers, but he was good. So I don't have an issue with this. I mean, it's just
you just have to, as we'll get Johnny back on here. I think he probably got a little too upset as far as these rankings go. So he's back. You were furious, right?
I got so upset about the Sweat ranking. No, my point was going to be that it's just nice. It's like when you get invited to that party, it's just nice to be included. Josh Sweat, it's just nice to have somebody on the edge rusher group.
But look at the stark difference between the offense and the defense.
Well, but
you got guys littered like in the top 10 in their respective positions for the most part. And then you got this defense that has been revamped. And I will say this, like the defensive line, Calais Campbell's your placeholder. Next year, you don't just have to have Walter Nolan on it. You have to have Walter Nolan and Darius Robinson on the top 32 list. You have to.
Yeah. I think it's more of an indictment of a certain play caller. Yeah. I was so dismissive that I got myself dismissed. That's right. I think if I Drew Petzing and I see this, I'm nervous.
Yeah. I thought Leah or Emma was just going to show up. Like they just they somehow got to the fibers of the cables and they're like, it's our show now.
They just double the viewership. To me, it's as cut and dry as, and I love Buda Baker. Buda Baker can't be your best defensive player this year. I love Buda Baker. Buda Baker is almost 30 years old and he plays a depreciating position in the NFL in terms of wins. And I think Buda is a Hall of Famer. You need to win with line of scrimmage players this year on both sides of the ball. And so for me, it's like you hit the nail on the head. This is Darius Robinson's time to shine. Like it's this podcast time to shine. It's Darius Robinson's time to shine. I want to see D-Rob take over the NFL, and because he's got the coaching staff, he's got the motivation. If Darius Robinson is not seen, as a injury candidate this year, if he doesn't have a relapse of his calf injury, he's going to, I think he will sleep up. Put it to you this way. I think Darius is going to sleepwalk his way to 6 or 7 sacks and TFL machine double digits. How is he not going to do that when respectfully Dante Stills is doing 5.5 sacks as a 6th rounder? Then you crank up the talent level, not even close.
PFF also released their wide receiver core rankings. We can release that if we've got time left in the show. We do. We got an extra 5 minutes at it, right? Terrence dropped in.
Yes, he did. Terrence Foxbody, $5.
Love that from Terrence. Thank you so much. I mean, if we get crazy enough, if we get enough added, maybe we even just do a mock draft too. I don't know.
Oh my God.
But we only have one. We have only 5 minutes that's been added to the show. So
can I just say something too, by the way?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've checked the box score of a certain game out in Canada right now between the Snakes and the Blue Jays.
Yeah.
That post game's going to start in like sooner than a hot minute here for your boys. So just keep that on your radar too. It could just be a continuation. It could be
the bottom of the 5th right now.
I mean, that goes quickly. Rob Manfred, they're getting those games in quick now.
For a 2-0 game, I think that this is crawling by.
No, it's going.
They get rid of the pitch clock in that game in Toronto.
We got another 5 minutes
Okay,
Wow.
add it on
added
there.
on top.
All right, so
Thank you,
we.
Anonymous.
You want to just say F it and do it? Are we doing a mock draft?
Well, let's talk about. I want to get your thoughts. Have you seen these? Have you seen the NFL receiving core rankings according to PFF?
I have a tough time visiting PFF when it's not in season. Like I'm being serious. I love the offensive line breakdown, the snap counts, the advanced analytics post game. I love it. I cherry pick it and post it on Twitter the next day so people can enjoy it because I think they do great work. I don't understand then how they take that data and then make these rankings. I think that it's a little bit of a shim sham.
Yeah. Man, perfectly said. Shim sham.
Just so hit me with it. So hit me with it.
Zag's looking for an all-nighter. Look, that's up to you guys. We're completely controlled.
Wait a minute. You
by
have a
our audience.
newborn, and I feel like you're going 24 hours if it's up to you.
Look, we'll see. We'll see. I don't
That's a
think I don't
charitable
think
man
the
right
rules
there.
here. The audience does. And
It's not up to me.
If they want to donate to a great cause, which is benefiting, of course, Spirit Week and Big Brothers Big Sisters, as we make our way to 10K.
Yeah.
So Johnny, do you know the PFF who they chose as the top receiving core in the NFL?
Cincinnati, right? Or
Actually
Philly?
not.
Is it
Cincinnati's
Philly?
third.
Okay.
The Philadelphia Eagles are the number one wide receiving core according to Pro Football Focus, followed by
Let me
the
see if
Tampa
I can
Bay.
guess. Let me see if I can guess. Philly,
Yeah.
Cincinnati. I'm frozen. Philly, Cincinnati's third. Vikings number 2.
No. I don't know if you'll get this one. Kind of slipped a little bit and started saying it. Yeah, you're not gonna guess it. You have to get back and like you're gonna think that you needed a time machine to go see this receiving core at its height.
Number 2, not Miami with Tua and Jalen Waddle. You're just not telling me.
Oh yeah, it's Tampa according to them.
Oh, come on. I think
Number 1?
Yeah, they got him as number 2. They've got Tampa ahead of Cincinnati. Mike Evans,
Wow.
Chris Godwin, the kid Ibuka from Ohio State that they added this offseason in the draft. Since he's 3. Noah, any guess on who's 4?
My Detroit Lions.
The Lions are 4th. The Niners fraudulently make their way somehow into It's got to include tight ends in here, right?
Yeah, like I agree with Sports Hero. Like, what college intern wrote this article? Respectfully, what kid did they get from sportingnews.com after hours, scrub dirt that wrote this article? What are we doing here? It should just mean
seeing the Niners clock in as a top 5, post Debo, injured Brandon Ayuk. I mean, a hobbled Christian McCaffrey, even if he's
Ricky Persall was shot last year. Now he came back and played, but he barely played. Jawan Jennings, come on.
The Vikings are at 6, Dolphins at 7.
There is no one on earth that would take the Niners receiving core of the Vikings.
Yeah.
Come on, Sycamore, let's get in here, Sycamore, and defend this.
You have to cruise all the way down the rankings to find the Arizona Cardinals checking in at 18th overall.
Come on.
They're behind the Jags, the Colts.
The Colts?
Yeah.
What? This includes tight ends, right?
It has to. Because what they say is the Cardinals tied for 11th in PFF receiving grade. Tight end Trey McBride was a monster, posting a second best PFF receiving grade of the position, 89.8. Came in at number 3 in PFF's tight end rankings. We get into Marvin Harrison Jr. started off slow. The rookie finished the campaign with a solid 77.2 PFF grade. Anyone who follows my draft work knows I'm a Michael Wilson believer. Plus, running back James Conner recorded some very impressive seasons as a receiver in his career and tallied 414 receiving yards last year.
Sycamore wrote this. What? Trevor? I was just joking. Trevor Sycamore wrote this article. Come on, Trevor. I am very disappointed.
Also,
go ahead.
we have a We have 3 more donations.
Wow.
3 more.
It's 15 extra minutes.
5 from Uzio Felix, $20 from an anonymous chatter, and
Unbelievable.
$5 from Brian.
Another
just-
more from BA?
Wow. Thank you,
Brian?
Brian. I'll
No,
even take-
Brian Pigatti.
Okay. Oh, what's up, Brian P?
Colts breakdown. Michael Pittman, Josh Downs, Alec Pierce get the barf bag. And that's who he lists. Come on. How can you rank a receiving core with Danny Dimes leading it, pulling the trigger as a good receiving core? And they're talking about like Tyler Warren hasn't played a down of football yet. Come on, guys. What are we doing here? I would take the Cardinals receiving core. I'm gonna give you something. I would take the Cardinals receiving core over Kansas City. They've got Kansas City 14th. McBride over Travis Kelce easily. Travis Kelce's 100% washed. They're listing Hollywood Brown. I've seen that movie. It sucks. Xavier Worthy hurt himself. Rashee Rice hurt himself last year, and Xavier Worthy. I'd rather have Marvin than Xavier Worthy. It's like I would rather. I
don't
rather have.
agree with you. That is putting them 14th. I don't know if they're just a product of good quarterback play. Dallas at 15. They made the addition of
They're
Pickens.
good. They're fine. That's fine.
I don't know how.
Commanders?
Yeah, exactly. I was going right there. They've got Scary Terry, and then it's just like a collection of guys.
Well, Debo. I guess Debo. I'll give them that.
You're going to give him Debo? Did you see? Have you
Debo.
seen video of Debo running around?
Eddie Lacy?
He's looking a little heavier. I don't know, man. I mean,
I'll push back on one. The Atlanta Falcons. Okay, so Drake London and Marv very comparable in terms of like their statistics earlier in their year. If you want to call that a wash, I think it is a wash. I actually think Marv has a higher ceiling than Drake London. Kyle Pitts couldn't hold Trey McBride's jock in terms of being a tight end, and then you're putting out there Darryl Mooney and Bijan Robinson's receiving grade, and you've got the Atlanta Falcons 11th overall with Michael Penix with a bad knee who can't move. No thanks. I think Trevor is stir crazy in the offseason. I'm going to give him a mulligan on this. Not a good list, Trev. Bad.
yeah, I agree. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense here.
49ers is the worst, though.
Being a top 5.
I don't wish ill will on any player, on any team, on any fan base. I have never needed a cut and dry implosion to be done like San Francisco. I need Shanahan to leave. I need everybody to be fired. I need that Brock Purdy extension to be a disaster. Like, we're close. And here's the good news is the Cardinals can put a nail in that coffin real quick. You sweep San Francisco and you make them look like a high school team. I need a losing season for San Francisco like I need air, and I need like a Shanahan buyout, get him out of there. And I need that franchise to be dormant for like 10 years.
You want to be outraged even more so?
No.
Okay.
Yes.
I mean, we've added 15 extra minutes on the clock?
Yeah, but we also just added an additional 5 minutes to the clock from Cinema Warden. Thank you for the donation.
What's going on, Cinema Warden? Thank you so much. Appreciate that. NFL.com is projecting their all rookie teams in 2025, Johnny.
Oh, my God.
Are you prepared for this?
We're sucking out all the content for the rest of the week. Yeah, hit me with it, Bo.
I mean, offensively, I don't think, the Cardinals took one offensive player in the 6th round. So, Cam Ward at the quarterback, Ashton Genty, the running back at that spot. Also, RJ Harvey, they like him at the running back spot too. Travis Hunter is a wide receiver. Kyle Williams is a wide receiver. No T-Mac. They like Kyle Williams and they like Travis Hunter. Colston Loveland getting some love to NFL.com.
Never.
Membu at the tackle spot. Josh Simmons, who was a bit of a draft darling on this show.
Not healthy right now, guys.
Tyler Booker. Wyatt Millum for the Jags, the 3rd rounder.
Where's the Cardinals 6th rounder? Is he on that list?
Tate Ratledge did not know. So that we've gone through the offensive lineman. Hayden Connor has not been named to the all-rookie team.
What?
Go to the defensive side. Your defensive linemen, you've got Mason Graham and Derek Harmon gets the nod over Walter Nolan for the Arizona Cardinals?
It's because of the Steelers. Because he gets to play next to TJ Watt. What flunky wrote this article? Actually,
Abdul Carter and Donovan Azaraku get the edge spots. This is some guy named Gennaro Felici. Did not make up that name. Carson Swessinger, linebacking spot. Demetrius Knight Jr. getting the other linebacker spot. Will Johnson, the Arizona Cardinal, that makes this list.
Finally. That's fine. Listen, like Walter Nolan, to be on an all-rookie team, has to play a lot, make flash plays, and he's got suddenly a bunch of good vets next to him and in front of him. So, like, whereas Will Johnson's going to start from day one, in my opinion, he's going to play every down, and he's going to have pick sixes I don't have a problem with that. I'll tell you what, though, if Cody Simon starts, he's getting on the all-rookie team. He'll put up numbers.
Yeah. The all-quarter century team was something that was a little bit big on the Twitter streets. So we save that for tomorrow, and we'll just let you filibuster the rest of the time talking Star Wars?
No, I don't think people want to hear me filibuster about. I mean, like, people will start asking him for refunds of their money. How many more minutes are we going here?
We got any more additions?
Let me take a little gander here. No more. But I think that's what.
We'll keep it at that. Save your money for tomorrow, unless you just want to donate out of the goodness of your own heart. Because Johnny and I do have something coming in the works. You might want to tune in to certain post-game shows, Johnny said, as we continue Musical Chairs Day here on PHNX Sports. The quarter century team had a huge omission. Now, it did have Patrick Peterson, right?
And Calais
Campbell both made it. But on the offensive side of the football, they had how many wide receivers make the team?
I was wrong in my original tweet. I thought it was 8. It's 6 receivers, which is
3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here are the receivers. Okay. See if you can tell if somebody's missing. Randy Moss, Calvin Johnson, Julio Jones, Terrell Owens, and Marvin Harrison. Okay. So it's not like a cutoff at the end of the early 2010s or whatever. This article was written by Seth Walder and Aaron Schatz, who we've had on the podcast. And I like Aaron, but Aaron is a little bit off the beaten path. No Larry Fitzgerald, according to this list. The player that had the greatest postseason run of all time for a wide receiver, who's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I'm going to tell you right now, Terrell Owens was a first ballot Hall of Famer. And Justin Jefferson was on the list as well. But then, I was right, because I said 6, but plus they added 2 practice squad guys, Antonio Brown and Andre Johnson.
Fire up chips.
So I'm telling you, so I was correct in my tweet. So people were like, it's only 6, Johnny. It's 8 because they put like honorable mention practice squad guys. He's not even on that. That it is one of the biggest omissions. It has to be clickbait. I saw like LaDainian Tomlinson's not on this list, but Scrub Dirt Priest Holmes is on this list. Like Christian McCaffrey over LaDainian Tomlinson, get out of town. It's one of the worst articles. It's literally like it's the equivalent of Stephen A. Smith playing solitaire during the NBA Finals. That's this article on NFL.com. Awful.
Yeah.
Don't even do NFL anymore, ESPN. If this is the kind of content you're going to put out, go be Dove. You're now Dove Twitter of sports sites. That's what I consider you to be. Clickbait, trash. Just as we just ripped Trevor Sikkema all in fun. The guy puts in time and does a great job. This is not good. This is terrible work. Some of the worst. You've got practice squad, Antonio Brown and Andre Johnson, and you're just like, Larry Fitzgerald is not one of the 8 best receivers of the quarter century. Get out of here, ESPN.
Don't get me wrong. Andre Johnson, love him. Great receiver. I think underrated for his time, but in no world is he over Larry Fitzgerald at all.
He never cracked double-digit touchdowns in a season.
Yeah, I mean, Larry Fitzgerald caught like every single ball that was thrown his way.
Larry Fitzgerald still has one of the most absurd stat lines where he's got more career tackles than drops.
Yeah, that's insane.
Really unfortunate, but It is what it is. Like, I read that and I'm like, I'm not surprised given the outlet. I mean, I like a lot of the
Aaron
people that work
Schatz
there.
was behind that.
And Seth Waldman.
It just looked at stats. Nothing played into who was throwing him the football. And I know Johnson probably dealt with that early in his career. And I'm sure a lot of these wide receivers dealt with it. But statistically, Larry Fitzgerald is pretty much 2 almost across the board in every major receiving category.
You can make here's the group.
It happened all from 2004 on.
Here's the group of the greatest receivers of all time: Jerry Rice, Randy Moss, Terrell Owens, Larry Fitzgerald. And if you can make, I mean, I don't think I think longevity matters. Calvin Johnson, I don't think I could put him above those players because he stopped because his body broke down. But I mean, those are that's the big 4. When you ask people, it's T.O., it's Randy, it's Larry, and it's Jerry Rice. But
can we at least put Calvin in the practice squad?
No, Calvin Johnson's top 5 to 7 for sure. But
Thank you.
When you're omitting Larry Fitzgerald for Antonio Brown and Julio Jones, you respectfully do not know ball. Because it's not, I mean, stats matter. He carried a team to the Super Bowl. It's the first, it's the only time it's ever happened. The closest thing is Jamar Chase with Burrow a couple of years ago. But that was not this. Jamar Chase didn't have the Super Bowl Larry Fitzgerald had against the number 1 defense.
Right.
So this is what this time of year is. Get out the trough and feed me your slop, ESPN, because we got nothing going on. And they knew that when they put that together. Come get your plate for your NFL slop because training camp's right around the corner. Eat up, everybody. Here's some slop. Some Aaron Schatz slop.
And we're just sitting there. We'd like some more, please.
I think we are officially, and I'm overriding Bo on this, no matter what he thinks. I'm retiring Aaron Schatz as a guest on this show after that.
Look, yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you there. It didn't take this list to do that. Thank you for your service.
Oh, man. What a day. What a time to be alive. Have we hit our mark?
Ari Mehrov is welcome on the show whenever you like. Fantastic interview. Had a great time with Ari.
Ari was great. Emma was great. Leah was great. Spirit Week's been a big, huge success, and it's because of all of you. And we've got 2 more shows this week. Want to remind everybody, check out the work of Big Brothers Big Sisters. Become a big today. Support a little. We know it's impacting so many people right now. What you can give, your time, your money, please do so. And drop us a like, because this is just the appetizer of the evening, friends, because your boys, I'll spoil it to some extent, are kicking off PHNX D-backs post-game show. So immediately following a barn burner of a matchup up in Canada against the Blue Jays and the Diamondbacks, we're going to kick off the first segment. We'll see how long host Derek lets us ride that out until I put my foot in my mouth. They wouldn't welcome us on the Sun Show.
Yeah.
Our takes were just too hot, Bo.
Yeah, they were too scared. They were too scared in Bo's JV spots. Sports hero. Oh man. That's what it takes. You get this late in the show and things
That's what it's all about right there.
What it's all about. Absolutely. Sports hero with a little dime there. Fantastic. Also, yeah, Friday, our bit for that day. If you're a diehard, you get to basically build the show after we just wore out all of the content for the week, filibustering the rest of this show. Good luck building Friday's show, diehards, but that's going to be on your shoulders. So something you want to hear Johnny and I talk about, then absolutely drop it in the Discord, and we'll make it part of the show come Friday on Die Hard Day.
We appreciate all of you. Drop a like. Get us to 350 likes here on a Football Wednesday. Big thanks to Ari, Emma, Leah, for Bo, Noah. I'm Johnny. We'll see you on a post-game show. Peace!
We all silly like the mayor.